You can say what you want, but I never been scared. Never been scared. Never been scared.
Welcome to the Morning Sports Podcast, where everyone has a story. On today's episode, I speak with Gervase Johnson. Gervase, or GJ, is a 2000 graduate of Southwood High School in Shreveport, Louisiana. GJ was the quarterback of the Cowboy football team during his time at Southwood. On this episode, GJ shares what it was like to start at the quarterback position as a junior with a team full of seniors and how that helped him grow as a leader during his senior year. GJ also discusses his options after high school and why he decided to attend the University of Louisiana Monroe. During his time in Monroe, GJ talks about the challenges that he had with some of the coaching staff and why he eventually decided to retire from the game. There are some audio issues with this episode that were outside of our control. A shout out to JJR Productions for assisting with some of the audio editing. Thanks for joining. Now let's start the conversation. All right. Welcome to the Morning Sports Podcast. I'm sitting here with Gervase. We call him GJ Johnson. Here on the show today, man, to give his perspective. I'm excited to hear his story. I can be like T.O. and be like, man, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. So welcome, man.
Welcome, man.
All right, man. Well, let's jump right into it, man. Well, like, how did you get started playing sports?
Man, back in the day, just playing with the guys in the neighborhood, throw up tackle, playing basketball, trying to learn, play kickball, play a little softball, do everything. And then I didn't start playing organized until like 4th grade. But it wasn't tackle. It was flag football. I did that for 2 years before I actually played tackle.
So were you on one of these Brookwood teams that we always hear so much about?
No. I used to go watch them in the Brookwood Bowl, and I wanted to play tackle, but my mom didn't want me to. She thought I was too small. Thought I was going to break up and stuff. So she didn't let me play. And then my dad got me on the flag football team my 4th grade year, and then at the YMCA. And then once I started that, he realized, hey, I can actually play. So I did it again, played it in 5th grade because I played again I started in 5th grade. And then when I got to middle school, I wanted to play middle school ball, but you had to be a certain age to play on the middle school team at Keyfield. So I went back and played one more year for flag.
Okay. All right. So you kind of started off playing some flag football. Did you play anything else other than football?
That was it. My flag football coaches wanted me to play baseball, but that was not a sport my dad was into, so I didn't play it. I wish I would have.
You know how that go with the parents. I don't watch it on TV. So.
And shoots back then, they was making me play offensive line, but in flag, if you play on the O line, you still can go out for passes. So I was playing offensive line, but also going out for passes and catching them. So that was weird, but different rules back then.
Yeah, so you kind of started some flag football, kind of in elementary school days, then you kind of transitioned to Keyfield. What did you do at Keyfield? What was you playing over there?
Started off at running back and free safety. There was Bobby Taylor was the head coach, and then Coach Williams wanted me to play quarterback when I moved into my 8th grade year, and that's when he switched me playing quarterback. I thought I was just going to play tailback again or fullback.
Was it any reason he moved you to quarterback?
He used to when I was in gym, he was my gym coach, and we used to have like the flag football tournaments in gym and stuff like that, and I used to play quarterback then, and he used to watch me play, and then he wanted me to play it at that time.
Did you want to play quarterback, or you just like, I just want to play?
I just wanted to play. It didn't even matter whatever position, as long as I'm on the field. But I ain't gonna be on the line to put me at running back. I'll play a little receiver. I'll play free safety. And then they moved me my 8th grade year. I played strong safety for them. At that time, it was me and Artis on the team. A couple more guys. I just can't remember all of them guys. Some of the guys that played at Southwood played with us.
Oh, and I say that even because, and I think we mentioned that before earlier, maybe the other day.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Mm-mm.
Okay. What about now?
All right, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Just take these off.
All right.
We can always edit it, so we're all good.
Did you
even kind of? I know, like you said, it's kind of coming into your 8th grade year, but did even know like what it all was gonna take to play quarterback? 'Cause that's not like playing running back where you just handing the ball off to a wide receiver or something like that. Like quarterback's a whole different game, ball game. So
well, I always knew the whole playbook, so I knew what the quarterback had to do and what positions other people needed to do. So I had it in mind because I always wanted to be a coach at the same time, but things didn't work out that way, so I wasn't able to go into coaching. But so I was always thinking of plays, and then back when I was growing up in Forest Oak, a lot of the kids was a lot younger than me, so I couldn't play against them. So I used to just be the all-time quarterback.
Right. Okay.
So how did you do that 8th grade year?
How did you do that 8th grade year playing quarterback for your first time in Keyville?
We scored. We was averaging 24 points a game, but we was giving up 25 a game. So we was scoring on anybody, man, but we couldn't stop nobody. It kind of happened the same thing when my senior year at Southwood. We could score on anybody, but we couldn't stop nobody at that time.
Okay.
All right.
So obviously, like you say, your time in junior high, middle school ends. You slated to come into Southwood. Where was the decision to continue playing quarterback and maybe not?
Well, to tell you what happened, Coach Williams and Coach Robinson was friends. They knew each other. So when I was running track at Keyville, we used to go actually practice at Southwood, and that's when I met Coach Rob. He used to come to me and say, "Hey, are you coming here?" That was the school I was slated for, but I had pretty good grades. I could have went to a magnet, but I never wanted to go to Bird. I was planning to go to Southwood the whole time. So he was talking to me every time I would come to Southwood, and we were practicing. And then one day I remember him coming over to Keyville to talk to all the 8th graders who was eventually finna go play football at Southwood. And he wanted me to stay playing quarterback at that time.
Okay. No, I did not know Coach Rob was out there recruiting.
Yeah. At that time, because it was a big thing. Bird can go get anybody because they had the magnet program, so you can go outside of your district and go to that school. So he was worried that he was going to lose talent because of that way. So he was out trying to make sure kids that was in the district for Southwood stay playing at Southwood.
Okay. Well, and I guess the same thing with Evangel, where they were pulling talent across the city.
Yeah.
As well.
Because they was pulling a lot of the guys. You remember that played at Turner. I remember those guys. A lot of them, my 8th grade year, a lot of them wound up going to Evangel.
Right. Some of the guys at Ridgewood. I mean, they just were pulling guys from all over. But to the point, the best way to get people to the program is to win.
To win. Right. You're right about that.
So obviously, like you said, you guys were kind of talking ahead of time. I guess that was probably your spring of your 8th grade year when you were running track, and you had already kind of talked to him about you coming on to Southwood. So as you get there during your freshman year, how was things, playing football, moving into that next level? Was it what you expected it to be, or?
It was, man. We had Coach Worthing was our head coach. It was no nonsense. Call you a bunch of DAs. He said, you better not sit on your helmet. He'll throw it. You got to go bear crawl and get it and put it back on. You done lost everything inside of it. And he used to have, it was me and another guy at quarterback. And he's always switches in and out. But also at that time, he would let me play running back too. And they then let me play both sides. So we played either free safety or strong safety. So we had a good time, man. We was competitive. Like I say, the schools we normally beat. Only one school I never beat was Bird. But then we beat Natchitoches Central. We lost to Captain Shreve that year. We beat Fowl Park. Remember beating Woodlawn. Who else did we play? Them just the ones I can remember right now. But we had a pretty good, decent season. It wasn't no championship or anything. I don't think you can have a championship at freshman football. You just, if your record was undefeated, you just claim yourself as a champion.
claim city champion. Like I said, you were kind of playing defense. You were playing running back. You were playing some quarterback. Was there any one player that you kind of modeled the game after, whether that was somebody NFL, college, or even somebody on Southwood campus at that point?
You remember at that time, Cordell Stewart was out.
Oh yeah.
So slash, because I was playing so many different positions, and I used to always like how Arnaz played his game. But as in that's about it, man. I was just trying to be, hey, whatever you put me at, I can play it.
Right. Did you have any
mentors or anything like that, like coming in, growing up?
Just my father.
Okay.
But
it seemed like he was pretty influential in some of the decisions. So
my dad was like, hey. I don't know if y'all remember, man. He used to be at every practice. Sitting on the sideline. I remember once, man, I had to tell Dad, man, hey, parents not allowed. he went to the mall. I think he read a newspaper and he came back anyway. Like, Dad, you the only one here, but okay, I understand. You just want to see what's going on, man. He used to, I think, middle school and freshman year, he would be the chain guy. He was gonna be as close as possible. That was it, man. I didn't have any. I just had 3 sisters, no brothers, so and it was pretty much me and him, and I had a lot of nieces and nephews, but that was pretty much my role model there.
Okay. So all right, moving into like the sophomore year, like you drop the flash, or do you just strictly quarterback? How does that look moving forward, starting and playing on JV?
Well, you remember, I'm coming in. Remember, we moved to the varsity. I was like 6 on the depth chart. He had a lot of different quarterbacks ahead of me. By the time the season started, I was number 2, backup. And then JV, coach would only let me play so long. I think I played a full game, against Fair Park. In some games, he would just let me play the first half and then say, hey, you're supposed to play something in varsity game. But that never happened. That on the side, he put me on the punt team and blocking and running down, trying to make a tackle, and then doing a kickoff return on the varsity. But never saw a day of light at the starting position at the quarterback. Not starting, but even just taking a knee.
So what was your? And I know now, obviously hindsight's 2020, but what's your perspective? It seems like you're not getting an opportunity to even complete many games. Your sophomore year on the junior varsity team with all these promises of playing varsity. You're not even seeing the field on the varsity. I'm just asking, what was your perspective while you were there in it as it relates to today?
Man, the very first game about varsity, I didn't even get besides playing special teams, I didn't get a snap going into the game. So I was very pissed at the end of the game. Coach Frazier came to me like, hey, we got to get you on the field some type of way. So that next week, Coach Rob said he's going to put me on the field some type of way. But what happened was, I remember Sid got hurt. So I had to play. I played a little bit running back in that Washita game. And they were, I think we went in a Cowboy set. There's some empty, and we went to play the little receiver and stuff. Didn't do too much in that game, but it was just, starting point, just get to play on those lights. And it's a great experience just to be on those lights. And I wish I had that opportunity just to even take a snap my sophomore year at the quarterback position, because just that experience there, it would have been a lot for my junior year just to have, if one snap, just to get used to being behind this line, saying the cadence, making sure everybody can hear you. Because it's different. It's loud when you get out there. It's different when you get out on that field, and then you got the coach signaling you a play, and you got to make sure you remember that, and make sure you go out there and say it to the team, and then you got to go up and remember to play.
It's a lot different scenario as opposed to playing a freshman or junior varsity game on
junior varsity
practice field.
Yeah, you're just on the practice field, and not many fans there. You might the lights on, but that's about it. It's a little bit different, but I remember playing a game against Natchitoches Central my sophomore year. I scored 3 touchdowns in the first half. Then I got undressed, sat on the sideline. They started coming back. Like, who was coaching that day? They put me back in the game. Got to go right back in the game and finish out before we can win. But I used to like playing JV because it actually gave me opportunity to play during my sophomore year when I knew, okay, on Friday, I might see a day in like, special teams, but I'm not going to see much playing time in the offense or anything.
Right. Okay.
So
as your sophomore year ends and you're coming into that spring of your junior season, like what did that look like for you coming into your first spring? I'm assuming there was a conversation with you and the head coach about, you're going to be the starting quarterback moving forward, or was there going to be a competition? Like, how did that look like moving into that spring of your sophomore year?
I was ready to go. We had he wanted to run that Nebraska offense. That's we were. How many tapes I watched with Tommy Frazier doing. Remember that, the midline and the 32 veer and all that pitching.
Right.
So we came out in the spring and actually played pretty good. Who did we play that year? We scrimmaged against. Was it Minden?
Yes, I believe so.
And we played pretty good.
Right.
And then you remember we used to have the sophomore year and junior year, we used to have the Cowboy game. We versus the orange and blue game. And remember that. Had a great game in my sophomore year and had a good game with my my junior year. Not my junior year, sophomore year, coming into that spring there. But then the season started.
Okay.
Just coming through that spring after not playing much your sophomore season, coming into the spring knowing that you're gonna be the guy. You feel like all the preparation that you did during that spring was gonna prepare you, kind of take you in through the summer.
I did. Yeah.
So what did your preparation look like during the summer before like two-a-days started? Because you have like that little bit of gap. You go through spring ball, then you kind of have some summer where you can practice.
How we did. We came.
And then two-a-days starts.
How we did it. We came to the gym, worked out a little bit, then we went to hoop. We hooped a little bit because we had our little Fab Five going against whoever at the time. And then sometimes we get out there and throw a little flag touch football. That's what we did. I wish we had it more, set out there to actually run plays, and I think that would have been helpful for us to actually get out there and just run plays, go through the playbook, get used to this. But that was never required out of us, and maybe we should have, looking back at it, we should have required it out ourselves, instead of somebody else telling you have to do this. But that's you learn, live and learn.
Right. Okay. So did end up going to a few camps over that time period, over that summer. Like, how did you feel like you performed and the team performed overall in some of those 7-on-7 camps?
Right, yeah, that was the ULM, right? The ULM camp in Monroe that we went to.
Over that summer.
Yeah, we went to that one in Monroe. I remember we made it to the first. We lost the first game. I remember we lost the first game, and then after that, we made it to the championship. I can't remember who we played, but it was a pretty close game. And
we could ask Bercy, he would know.
Yeah, it was a close game. I remember my arm was hurting because we had thrown the ball so much. Because that was the first time 7-on-7 had just really got started. And my arm was sore after throwing the ball that much at that time. And then I remember actually the coaches talking to us from ULM about that our performance.
Right, absolutely. So coming off that, like you said, you kind of go to this camp, you do very well passing the ball, but we're working off your offense.
Mm-hmm.
Did you kind of feel like that was mixed signals, or was your expectation coming into that season was like we're going to continue to run this your offense, or did you kind of have an expectation that we may be opening up the offense a little bit?
Well, since we was doing that 7-on-7, I thought that was the purpose of trying to learn the passing tree and just open it up a little bit. And then if you remember, we went to the Jamboree that year. And we opened up the offense and we scored a lot of touchdowns. And we opened it up. I remember that game, and we had a hell of a game. And I can tell you where it all went downhill.
So coming in, starting off, like you said, kind of starting in, going through 2 a days. Like, so do you think you were like prepared as a QB?
And I just say that because,
like you said, not many reps. I mean, you kind of had the spring, and then we spent some time doing the camp and things of that nature. But you know, like you said earlier, it's a different scenario once you're under the lights.
I think I was
prepared. Do you feel like you kind of prepared, like? I know you probably prepared physically, but like the mental side of it. Do you think you were prepared mentally to kind of start off as starting QB?
Not mentally for game day, but I think I was getting prepared. I knew the playbook very well, and I knew what I needed to do. But when you get on that field, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different game under the lights. And then you remember the opponents we had to open up with. No. And who we had to open up with. So
it was Rustin, Washita Marshall.
Rustin, Washita Marshall, man. And I always used to judge. You know, you had the jitters in the game first start off, but that first hit, you're gonna know what's gonna happen. And, you know, that first game was against Rustin, and I can't remember the guy they had playing there at linebacker, but I think the first play, man, the very first play, they hit me and bust my lip. So I knew it's going to be a long game.
Okay. Yeah. It was a long game for everybody involved.
It was a long game, man.
So coming in, like I said, there was a significant amount of seniors on that team, man. When you come in and starting that QB as a junior. So did you see yourself as a leader on the team?
Not at that time. I think pretty much the whole offensive line was seniors. We may have had maybe one, maybe two that was underclassmen. Yeah. The receiving corps was seniors. You was a senior. One of the Dashanon, he was a senior. It was loaded. I was loaded around seniors who had played with the previous quarterback, and someone was still friends with the previous quarterback. So,
right. Well, and even with the defense.
In the defense, there was seniors all over that defense. Maybe one or two guys actually got a chance to that was underclassmen guy had the chance to touch the field at that time.
I think Artist played some.
Artist and Antonio.
Right.
Antonio Robinson.
So saying that, like early on. So do you think that was something you eventually got from the seniors? Do you feel like you had the respect of the seniors, or was that something you kind of grew into?
It's a hard question to answer there because I'm not sure. That junior year was very rough. You know, starting off with those. I don't know why our schedule was set up like that. I don't know why somebody did that.
We know why.
Because it didn't make any sense, man, to go out the gate playing a Rustin, Washita. And when we had a good game against Washita, it was a rainy game,
rainy game.
It was a rainy game, and then go over there to Marshall. And then those three games starting off, man, your confidence is gone. You lose all confidence.
Especially at the quarterback position, and then like I say, first time starting on the varsity level, and you going against. And I want to say Rustin went to the state championship that season. So you're playing against elite talent out the gate, man. And our team offensively wasn't elite.
No.
So the defense, I think maybe not that first game, but they eventually after that first game they grew into what they eventually had, what they eventually became on the defensive side. But offensive side we just didn't have.
I think we had some of the personnel.
Yeah.
That comes with personnel.
Just didn't have that comes with personnel plus play calling and a lot of other things that has to come into place.
It was a struggle that year. not performing the way that you thought you was going to do, and you knew that the upperclassman was looking at you, hey, we need you to perform the way we thought you was going to do, and then coming out the hole like that, 0-3, we already down, man. If we just, to me, I think we should have at least, hey man, don't schedule all those top hitters like that. Get you some wins in, get your confidence up to get before you go start playing district ball. You need that. You don't. I understand that you wanted to do the power stuff, but we was playing a schedule like we was West Monroe.
Right. We're in the Evangel. We're playing powerhouses. There's no way we should have been going to Texas to play anybody.
No way, man. No way. And they had a contract with those guys, I think, that lasted for about 10 years. They used to go over there every year. We used to go over there. They never came over to us. We used to go over there.
No. Why would they?
I beat them actually in JV because we played them in JV, and they actually came over and we beat them then. But varsity was a totally different game playing against those guys.
Right.
Okay.
And you said like first time starting as a QB on the varsity level. So during like maybe your sophomore year, as you're kind of transitioning into that role, did you get any advice or feedback from the starting QB during your sophomore year? Like, did y'all have any rapport? Did he give you any tips or advice?
It was no relationship there. It was no relationship there. No.
Because even
during practice, did y'all practice together? Like all the QBs practice together?
We did.
Okay.
He took most of the reps. Barry got maybe a few in, but he took most of the reps during the practice. We did the drills, all the quarterback drills, and the individual stuff. We do that, but that was about it. It was no one. But I kind of understand because it was kind of like, hey, I'm coming for your job. So
it was kind of like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Like, man, it's not my job to get you there.
So no, it was just talking to Coach Rob or Coach Reeves, pretty much giving me the training or whatever I needed.
But so after that first game of Ruston, like where were you like? Mentally, like it was, if I recall, it was 30-0.
30-0, 0 for 10. Ran for my life. At least I wasn't sacked that game. But I ran for my life. Maybe a -8 yards rushing.
So
what was the conversation? Where was the conversation with the coaches? Like with the coaches, like
maybe not that Friday.
I can't even remember those conversations, man.
Friday, but maybe coming into that Monday.
I can't remember those conversations. I know we supposed to we had some type of fundraiser that Saturday, and I was so beat up I couldn't make it. And I remember Sid and Darren came to the house like, man, we just checking on you. You're all right. So like, nah, man, I'm not. I couldn't make it today.
Like, man, we don't even have to watch the tape. We were there.
It was pretty ugly, man. It was pretty ugly. And then I remember playing in the Ouachita game, but it was just a rainy game. And you remember that field? That field was horrible.
Oh yeah.
It had some kind of
sand
or something. Sand.
It was
right.
It had sand. It was getting on the ball. I'm like, bro, how can we? Can barely hold on to the ball because it was. And it rained the whole game, and we battled against them. And I think that score wound up being 10-0, but we had a shots to, I think, score and maybe missed a field goal here and there, but we battled with those guys. Then after that game, we went to that Marshall game.
Right. And that was unfortunate.
Yeah, and I can't remember. It was either I remember playing Marshall. I don't know if that was my junior year or senior year. I remember, and I think I got a concussion that game because they drove me into the ground. My head hit first. I remember getting back up, trying to figure out who the coaches was, and trying to figure out everybody looked the same. And I think Coach Morning said, "Hey man, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good."
that
was gonna be the answer regardless.
Yeah.
So
as we come out the gate during that junior season, 0-3. Like, did you see like any changes that needed to be made, or was that just you kind of looked at it because of the level of competition, like we were at an uphill battle?
I think it was the level of competition at that time, and the word was the coaches was telling us, hey, we're about to go to district today. The talent is not going to be the same. We're not finna. So I think, did we open up with the Captain Tree?
I don't know.
If I can remember, I think it was them. I know we won that game, but I can't remember. It get fuzzy after that who we played.
Right.
I remember playing in some some tight games against Airline and Bird and Natchitoches Central. Pretty tight games. I got hurt in the that was a Natchitoches Central game on the last drive.
Right.
And then I know Julius had to come in, and that's when I hurt my ankle, and that never healed that season. We're trying to get treatment every weekend on that.
So
like during that junior season, do you feel like getting outside of inter-district play, like do you feel like the team was prepared each game?
Offensive wise, no. Defensive wise, yes. I remember playing one game, and maybe it was against Airline, and they was calling out our plays. Sitting there was calling out the plays. They knew everything we was running, and that told me a lot about being prepared and coaching, preparing their team well for a football game, and they was well prepared.
Right. But at that point, did you feel like any responsibility to be like, hey, coach, we need to change some things, or hey, coach, they're calling out our plays? Like I know that's kind of a tight situation for a quarterback to be in there with a head coach, but how did you take that once you knew they were calling out the plays and you knew we were not going to be successful in some of those plays? You just like,
at that time, man, like I said, I didn't feel I played the quarterback position at that time, but as in me being the vocal leader of that team, that wasn't me.
Right.
I'm still trying to get my foot wet to get in here and trying to learn the system and play the quarterback position. So I didn't have that confidence in myself to go to the coach and say, hey, we need to make a change here.
Right. Okay.
No,
I understand that, and I don't think many people would have at that time.
Now today's
game, they'll say it in a heartbeat.
Right.
They'll change the play on their own. So,
now, senior year I was more comfortable in doing it, but in that junior year, nah.
Right. So at the end of the season, obviously, in the season at 4-6, how did you feel like you performed individually?
Individually, I went like that. At the end of that year, I started questioning myself playing the quarterback position.
Okay.
Wow.
So I questioned myself, like, man, I wasn't expecting that type of season. Not performing. That was my worst year playing football. that junior year. So I was determined if I was going to stick at this position, I was going to be way much better my senior year.
Well, and I just say from our perspective, man, I think we all saw potential, man. But
for the most part, the play calling had a lot to do with it. So it doesn't necessarily matter for the most part.
I think for the most part, calling had a lot to do with it.
Then like I said,
it's
team as a whole.
And then like I said, the team as a whole shot ourselves in the foot in some games. Like we had a great opportunity to win the Bird game. I think we missed a field goal there. Natchitoches Central, I think.
Had a close game.
Natchitoches Central. I think we ended up getting the punt blocked.
I remember that Bird game. Remember?
For the
most part, some of those games that they could have went either way. The ball bounced, ball here or there, man, and we were in there. As opposed to some of those earlier to the Ruston and the Marshall game. But I think for the most part, we were in most of them.
And
that I think at the end of the day, you really all you can ask for is to be in some of them.
Right.
But like you say, when you roll up there and somebody calling out your play, no, but you can do.
You brought up that Bird game. Yeah, I remember that game because I want to say we started off in the hole in that game.
Mm-hmm.
We started off in the hole, but we marched all the way back. And somehow we scored and tied the game. We were about to tie the game, and a 2-point conversion got called. A fake field goal. You remember that? And
I do.
and we could have tied the game there. And that got called. And then we got the ball back. We drove it down again. And we missed the field goal there. And that was hurtful. That was hurtful, that loss.
Well, that game, I think that
game was another rainy game. Also.
It was.
Yeah, I think as a team, man, offense, defense, man, I think we put it all together that game.
We did.
Like you said, man, just another thing, man.
Because we definitely could have folded real early because they jumped on top of us. Either it was 14-0.
14-0.
14-0, and then we just came back and just ran it down their throat. Just ran. We ran it down their throat, and then I can't remember if we scored before halftime, but we had the confidence going into halftime. Hey, man, we can play with these guys.
Right. So as that junior season ends, like what? I mean, you said you were kind of doubting yourself playing the quarterback position, but what kind of feedback did you get from like the coaching staff as far as like moving forward, or did you have any?
I remember
how you performed that whole season.
I remember him actually talking to a guy that's going to transfer from Bird to come play quarterback.
Really?
Yes, he sure was trying to get him to come over there. He sure was. I sure did. I remember that. I don't know what ever happened with him coming over there, but I remember Coach Rob was entertaining that. And I remember another coach that was not. I got word it was another coach. He wasn't a football coach. Was trying to say I should move me to another position and move another guy at the quarterback position. That I heard that.
Okay. Wow. But even with all that, you still decided to move forward.
Yeah, I wasn't afraid of no competition. You're gonna either beat me out, or I wasn't afraid of no competition. So it didn't bother me that they was doing that. They want to win. Okay, bring them over. Let's go.
Right. Well, and I just taking back what you said earlier about how the season ended, man. Pretty much finished as your worst.
Yeah, I was just questioning my abilities at the time.
Right. So some people be like, I don't even want to play quarterback anyway. So bring those guys in, man. I'll go play something else.
Hey.
But no, like I said, you kind of moving forward. So I guess moving forward, like so you end up running track. So like what kind of brought that? Like you decided to kind of start running track.
Man, honestly, I ran track in middle school, and I played basketball back then too. And I played freshman basketball at Southwood too. Me running track was just staying in shape. I took it serious in middle school. Got to high school. It just the coaching to me levels dropped versus what I had in middle school. So now I took it about as serious as they did.
Right. Well, at that point, like you said, you're for the most part, that is you're gonna work on it as hard as they force you to work.
Right. So I took it about serious in that. And the track, I was just running, stay in shape. My main thing was playing football.
All right. So as you close out your junior season, like what was like one thing that you said, like, hey, I need to improve as far as my overall game? Like, was there one or two things that you kind of took away from that season, saying like, hey, I need to improve on this?
Leadership. Be more vocal. Take command of the offense. That was my main thing I knew I needed to change. My confidence, people needed to believe in me. And I needed to change that.
Right.
All right.
So moving into your senior season, like how was your preparation coming into like that spring of your junior year? Like how was your preparation? Was it the same, or did you change something? Or like I said, this is going to be leading into your senior season. Like you said, you knew that leadership was something that you needed to focus on, and having everybody buy in and believe in you.
So, were you more vocal? Were you more into that spring of your moving into your season?
More vocal coming into that spring of your.
Yes, and maybe Coach Rob had that conversation about, hey, we want you to be more of a leader this year. So I was more in command of the offense, more talking, telling the line, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to block here. So coming into that season, I had more confidence to play the position. And then, now I'm the senior. Now we lost when we were saying that we had all those guys at seniors at that time. So now all these guys just getting in first time playing under the lights. So only returning seniors at that time that had played was me on offense. I think me, Sid, and Garcia. And I think Tony Sweet had played a little bit, so he had been out there for a little while, so he was back there. So now the confidence was there. I had a different coach I'm working with now, a different offensive coordinator, Coach Brewer, who actually opened the game up a little bit more for me. And instead of remember the offense we was running back your junior year, man, it was something they ran back in the 70s.
Very vanilla. So how was that conversation that they come? When did they come to you? Was that during the spring or during the summer when they came to you and they were going to change the offense?
Coach Brewer.
At that point, that we're moving from pretty much a veer or option offense to a spread offense, which is night and day.
Yeah. So it's very funny because Coach Brewer came in the spring, but he still was kind of, still Huntington. So the offense was getting there, but it wasn't fully installed. We really didn't know what his position was going to be until that summer during tour-a-days. And I remember I had to leave and go to, before tour-a-days started, I had to go to Louisiana Boys State for a week. So I wasn't there for that first day. But when I came back, I remember them telling me, man, everything had changed. The practice done changed. We got periods now. It's more college style. Everything had changed. And Coach Brewer is now taking over the offense. And that's when he started really putting in what he wanted versus what we was running in that spring. Because in that spring, we was running like a wing T sometime. But I do remember in that spring we did go to Ouachita, and we beat them. And we beat them on the last drive, and that was something very exciting for the team because we haven't beat them boys in years.
No, that's redemption.
Yeah.
So were you open to the like offense? Because like you said, you kind of come into the season, and now they're just flipping the switch where you don't have to run this totally new offense. Like
changing offense, like you said, you kind of come in. How was your mental approach to that? Because you already had a whole new team coming in.
Now you got to bring.
I was open to it. I remember watching some of the stuff he used to run at Huntington, and just some of the little screen passes they used to run, and they used to pop, make good yards off of them. I was open to it to make some type of changes. I knew what we had did before didn't work, so.
And then
obviously looking at your personnel, do you feel like you had the personnel at the time that you were running offense?
Starting off, no, because those guys, it was their first time. So first couple of games coming out the hole, they used to drop. They had some drops and mistakes, but I can understand that. I remember, my first time coming out there, you're gonna make mistakes under that light. So it kind of probably kicked in 3 games in the season, and then everything started to roll a bit better. But yeah, the experience was not there. We didn't have the same defense at the time. Those guys, everybody had graduated. You only had maybe 1 or 2 guys that actually had played in games, and that game experience, man, you cannot replace that.
Can't do it.
So did
So
you
did
feel
you
like
feel like you had an additional responsibility, kind of to get the team prepared, since obviously since you were running the returning starters, you were the leader, and obviously you were running the new offense.
One of the biggest regrets is I should have made Coach let me play both sides, and that's something that me and Sid always talk about. Why not use us? At that time, you count on us. Hey, put us on the other side sometime. We can make plays. And that would have helped going into college,
So
how would you measure like your junior season versus your senior season as far as like the overall talent of the two teams?
Our junior season, that team was way more talented versus saying it from position for position. I mean, we had more experience than those guys, because those guys all came back. Most of them had already played their junior year. They had that experience their junior year. So when they came back their senior year, every single one of them guys was ready to go. They was ready to play.
Everything was clicking. Well, it helped, like you said, they had been playing pretty much in that same defense with Coach P as well. So.
And then Coach P had left my senior year. He left. He went to Huntington. He was head coach at Huntington. Him and Coach McClain.
So were they running the same defense?
I'm sure he probably well at Southwood at that time. I mean, who was the? I'm not sure who. I'm trying to remember who was the defensive coordinator. Was it Coach Morning? I'm sure if it was Coach Morning, he was pretty much running the same defense.
Same thing, right?
But we didn't have the same athletes.
Right.
We didn't have
or the same experience.
Yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have that. Shoes. Man, I can't remember how many seniors was on that team, but it was. I remember looking at that book my senior year. It was maybe 4 or 5 returning starters.
Right. So what was your expectation for yourself individually, and then obviously for the team coming into your senior season? I mean, there's a lot of changes. Like you just kind of outlined everything with the personnel, with the offense, coaches change. So like, did you lay out some expectations for yourself and for the team?
One was to actually make it to the playoffs. I really wanted to do that. 2 was be better. 1, be better as a leader, better on the field, and perform in big games. That was my whole goals there. But my success, I was thinking that if the team win, that would be my success, man. And the individual stuff would carry along with that.
Right. So as you kind of started to see your senior season repeat as your junior season did, like what was your mindset as far as like the direction of the team?
Well, we opened up against the first game. They kind of tweaked the schedule. We played Como that first game, and we was in a battle. We lost it. It was a tight game. Then I think we played Woodlawn the next game. We won that, so now we 1-1. Then we go over to Marshall, and we was battling with them. They called back 3 touchdowns that game, so we lost. We lost that game. So then I think we come open the district. We wind up 2-2. We started off decent, 2-2, instead of starting off 0-3 in the hole. Yeah. We battled in some games, man. Like I said, we could score with anybody. The worst game I think that was out there that year was the Avenger game, and that was played on Saturday night.
And I think now I'm trying to remember. So in that season they redid the district software.
Right, they did.
So now you have this national powerhouse in your backyard that you got to play every year.
Right. Woodlawn was no longer in our district at that time. That's why we played them at the beginning. They was a non-district game.
Okay.
So kind of speak to this Avenger game. How did that go?
So kind of speak to this Avenger game, man. How did that go?
Man, That game, to me, I remember it was a guy, I think he was a security guy, and he told me, he said, you want him to score a touchdown, you want to pass a touchdown, you want to do anything in that game. You want to do a passing touchdown, you want to rush for one. I said, all right, man. All right, I bet you. Now, I was ready to play that game. I didn't care. To me, hey, these guys, this talent, hey, they're the number one team in the nation at that time. Let's go play. And we playing on a Saturday night. We know what had happened. I don't know if you remember what had happened the year before, right? When they had to forfeit some games because
Okay.
you know, so that game was sold out. It was packed on both sides. People was ready to see us get demolished against Evangel. Everybody, it was written in the papers because the Evangel was mad because who had did something, you know.
Who had did right.
So I remember that game. I did have a rushing touchdown. I did have a passing touchdown. So that security guard, he lost his bet. I mean, they blew us out, but at the end of the day, I wasn't afraid to play them. And again, we actually did practice. We practiced on defense to play some defense that game.
Really?
But
Okay.
don't know what, when it came to the game time, never happened. We had some little trick plays we used to run, like some Cotton Valley when they'll put the line over to the left side and then just have me in the center and do some stuff. But yeah, they had some good guys, but Evangel used to play this song, Another One Bites the Dust, at the end of their games every time.
And after the game, did you feel like just athletically they were that much better, or was they just kind of down to like they were just coached a lot better?
I had seen guys better. I had seen guys. I mean, they had some talent over there, but they was coached. And I remember even talking to Coach Brewer about how their system is ran. These guys are really getting coached at every position how to play the game versus us. I got coached up a little bit first coming into Southwood, how to throw the ball, proper techniques and stuff, do my footwork and stuff like that. But actually getting coached to the time we got to college and you know how stuff really changed.
Right.
Well,
and I think that that has a lot to do with it also when you start talking about.
You mentioned earlier about airline, knowing the plays, reading the plays, and Joel actually mentioned this also. You know, we ran the mirror coverage. Like we ran
You mentioned earlier about your line knowing the plays, and Joel actually mentioned this also. We ran the mirror coverage, both. You know, wide outs, running outs, man. It was very vanilla. To where anybody could pick up on it and read it. To where, you know, you get more advanced offenses. Even at the high school level.
They had combo routes.
You know, they had combo routes. You know, they were running different routes based on man as opposed to zone. And they were doing that back then. But like I say, the offense that we ran where everything was pretty much a mirror, you know, you didn't have to do much to defend the passing game from that aspect. So as the season kind of moves along, man, like what is your how do you feel the season goes, or how does the season end? Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, one of your goals in the beginning was to obviously to be more of a leader and then to make the playoffs. That doesn't happen. So how do you kind of handle that as the season comes to an end, and then how do you feel like you perform statistically?
I remember there's 2 games there. I can remember the Bird game. Remember we were battling with them. We came back at halftime, about to take the lead, and I threw a pass, and we almost scored, and they called a flag saying lineman downfield. Brought us all the way back. That game, I think we should have won. So one Natchitoches Central, we battled with them. Actually, ULM came recruit me for that at that game. And they was watching me and the quarterback at Natchitoches Central to wind up going playing baseball. We battled with them. I remember it's one play that sticks in my head that we was on the goal line, 4th and 1. And I read the dive, so I gave it to the fullback. And I say to myself I should have took that and ran it in myself. But it didn't happen. So those 2 games, we should have won.
And your fullback was what, like 120, 130?
Right. He had heart. I remember watching tape with that guy, man. He said, Gervase, don't watch this play. It got blown up. Well, he had heart, man. He will put his head in there. For myself, I think I performed well. I wish that would have been my junior season instead of my senior season in that type of offense. And I would have played maybe 2 years under Coach Brewer's system to try to master it. But we can't change that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But even from that aspect, you kind of understand when you go into a whole new.
I mean, you'll play in it, but like you said, you kind of need that second year, that second season, to really get it under your belt.
Offense, man. I mean, you can play in it, but like build and grasp all the concept of it.
Right.
So as your senior season comes to an end, what is your expectation of kind of moving forward, and like what is the conversation with the coaches?
Well, I was receiving letters all through the year, getting phone calls from different schools. I was, expecting someone to be ready to go for a scholarship somewhere. I had talked to a couple of coaches, different teams. Didn't get an official visit at that time, but I didn't even know when that even started. I didn't even know when that even started because I hadn't, talked to anyone who had went through the process before. I remember the coach told me to wait till after signing day, and they would come flooding in. And nothing came flooded in after signing day. A couple of small schools came. Coach Rob. It was Coach Rob. Couple coaches did come and visit some schools out of Arkansas, and Louisiana College was just starting their program, and that guy wanted me to come down there, but they wasn't giving scholarships at that time. And then, again, we wanted to play D1 football. Everybody wanted to play D1. Didn't want to go play at the small schools. But I actually didn't mind going to play for HBCU, but HBCUs didn't come see us. Well, they didn't come talk to us. They came to visit us one time in the spring. I think Grambling came. But they never had heard any information. They never contacted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that coaching staff would have had a relationship with HCCU.
Yeah, I pretty much doubt it. It was probably no type of relationship there. I wish it was because that's right down the road. Would love to had a chance to play at that time. They was winning SWAC championships. Coach Eddie Robinson was gone. It was Doug at the time.
Right.
So
how did you come to your decision to the school that you eventually chose? How did that come about? Did you have a conversation with your dad?
No. Well, my dad he did tell me maybe you should do a JUCO, but I didn't know much about JUCO. I didn't even know if it was any in Louisiana at that time. I know it was some in Mississippi, but I didn't know much about that. I wish I was introduced to it. Then I remember talking to ULM a couple of times. They would call and I would talk to them, and then they say, "Hey, we would love for you to come walk on there." And I said, and I knew ULM. Southwood had good history with ULM. We had a lot of players that went down there and were successful.
Right.
So I figured, why not? I had talked to Stan Humphries a couple of times about coming there. So I just said, yeah, I'll go walk on.
Okay. So you spoke with Stan? Like, what was that conversation like?
Stan, I spoke to him a couple of times on the phone, and he came. He was the recruiter at the game, during the Academy Central game. And he used to come. He came to the school once, and I spoke to him. And then we had conversations on the phone. And then that was when it got closer to signing date. I didn't hear anything back from him.
During those conversations, were those conversations about you coming on and playing quarterback, or at that time you guys were talking about you playing a different
I was listed as an athlete at the time, so my position would whatever they wanted me to play at the time, either receiver or defensive back. I remember when we actually, I know I'm jumping a little ahead. I remember when we was actually there, and the other quarterback was not. I don't know what he had going on, but I was supposed to play a little throw the ball around, but that never happened.
Okay.
All right.
So you. But what drove like just those conversations with Stan was what I'm just looking at more along like what drove your decision.
The conversations I had with Stan and them saying they would like for me to walk on, and me looking at the history that at that time I think Pat Dennis was just leaving.
Right.
He was just leaving, going to the pros, and actually BT Brian Taylor was coming back. Came then that summer. He was back at Southwood starting to coach with under Brewer system. So I used to work out and play out there with him. And it was another guy who played receiver for Southwood. He knew Coach Carr.
Okay.
So he knew Coach Carr. He had played under Coach Carr's system at ULM. So I was getting contact with all these guys who came from Southwood and was actually playing at the ULM at the time. Had success. So I was like, okay, well, that's a sign for me to go. Little did I know.
So we'll roll into your college days with ULM, University of Louisiana Monroe. So like you said, you kind of spoke with Stan, and then like you said, all the feedback from other players that played from Southwood over at ULM kind of helped drive your decision to go there. So what was it like once you got there?
Like we're looking at, I guess your first year.
Remember that day.
As a preferred walk-on.
I remember showing up for two-a-days.
We're looking at, I guess, your first year freshman two-a-days.
Yeah, I remember showing up for two-a-days. I still remember the date. I'm going to say it's August 6th. I remember parents dropping me off, and I think we I don't know how we was late. We was a little bit late getting over there, and I don't know which coach was. It might have been Collins or Carr. Cussed us out. So we got in there. As soon as we got in there, man.
Welcome to Monroe.
I'm like, what is going on, man? Cussed us out as soon as we got in there, man. And I don't think we got our pads and stuff that day. Maybe that morning we started getting our uniforms, and I can't remember what happened. I remember getting it, and and I still didn't know what position I was going to play. I did not know. And then I saw the list that had me as a receiver, and I remember getting our equipment, and they gave me the worst equipment. I applied to play receiver, but I got on lineman pads. I can barely lift my arms up. And then they put me in the visitor locker room.
All sounds familiar.
They put me in the visitor locker room, and I walking down there. I say, "So is this where all the freshmen go?" No. This is where the walk-ons go. It's like, what the? And I should have turned around then.
But as 2 days get started, you initially start practicing with the receivers. Like how did that eventually work out?
I initially started practicing with the receivers. I probably practiced with them 2 days. Then I wanted to go play free safety. That was more familiar with that position, and so I switched over and started playing defensive free safety.
So how was that conversation like? Just like, hey, coach, this ain't gonna work.
I just went and told him like, hey, this is not what I do. I don't play receiver. Either I can play a little running back or quarterback, but I'm not a receiver. But I can play free safety. Right. And they was up. They said, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Right. So as you move over to free safety, you feel like you had a tough time changing position? You had been playing quarterback for so long. Or you just
No, I mean, free safety to me is a quarterback on the defense. He's reading what he's sitting directly there, looking at that quarterback, reading his eyes, trying to figure out the defense. Only difference was actually understanding the different coverages and then actually running the cover 2 properly, the cover 3 properly. When you got to switch out of that cover cover 2 when they in a certain formation, that was something to get used to. We was never, back when we was playing cover 2, we just said, hey, you got deep pass. They didn't tell you at safety you watching that inside guy. You know,
That inside
guy, right? Or if there's motion, then that guy got to drop down.
Yeah,
so, like right.
That was something different, and and the coaches actually you watching film now, and you actually getting coached on how to watch the film. And I wish I had that type of coaching when I was in high school, how to properly watch film. And instead of putting me in the room and telling me to watch a film, I'm just watching a game.
So how was your adjustment with that? Like you said, so now you're in there actually watching tape. They're breaking down every play. They're breaking down every step. Were you good with that as far as like receiving like the specific direct criticism? Like you said, for the most part, that was something you had never gotten before. You make a bad play or bad throw. That's something they can kind of speak to. But now they're like, hey, well, you took a bad step. You made a bad read. Like how are you on that aspect?
I was good in the coaching. It was just getting the reps. When you walk on versus a scholarship player, that scholarship player gonna get 15 reps to your 2 or 3, and you can't afford to mess up.
Right.
And you don't. And if you mess up on one and you only get 2 of them, it takes a lot. That freshman year, it took a lot. Remember we came in, you had to do the condition test. I wasn't condition wise. That wasn't nothing. Just only thing was getting into that weight room. Remember the complexes?
Yeah.
Trying to do that, man. And that was our warm up.
Who made this really?
And that was our warm up, man. You had to put some 25s on there and just do this whole workout. And you're like, man, I'm drenched here. We still got to work out. Yep. That's a whole different workout. So the weight room was something my body was trying to get used to lifting weights like that, and trying to put on weight.
Right.
To be able to lift
up. And to that point earlier, like we had mentioned earlier, like before we go and kind of work out.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're outside throwing football, we're outside playing basketball. Now you're in a atmosphere where you have to work out.
You have to work out.
You got people there watching. You got people competing for positions. So even at that point, it's I don't even want to say it's like another 2 levels higher than kind of what you're expected to. So was that like a really tough adjustment, or was that just something that you kind of eventually just figured out?
I mean, I saw, remember going in the locker room, you saw the juniors and the seniors, and you saw how much bigger they was. There was something like, hey, that's what I'm gonna be when I get to that. I wasn't afraid of that. It was just getting used to all this structure. Hey, man, they watching you. If you skip a rep, you can get penalized for this.
Right.
You don't know if they seeing you, but they watching you. And being in that weight room, and remember when you redshirted, you had to be there at 6:00 in the morning on the weights. Yeah. On the weights. It wasn't. We had to wake up at 5:30. You run over there and get ready. You have an 8:00 class.
Yeah.
Sometime I made it. Sometime I didn't. And depending on what we worked out that day, some reason every time we did legs, the elevator used to be down coming back to Olin. And I stayed on the 8th floor or something like that. So that's a lot of flights to go up.
And I was on 9.
Yeah.
Right. You'd be like, man, I'm just staying down the rest of the day.
I think I had a conversation with one of my teachers like, hey, I might be missing some class on certain days, but hey, I'm gonna get the work done.
Right.
So getting out there like during 2 days and even starting practicing during the season, like what did you see like as far as competition wise, like now that you're you competing on the college level?
competition wise, and what we all paid attention to the. I can't remember what magazine they had, but the recruits that came in, you went and read their bio, and you saw them, and you could say, man, they had all these different accolades, all this different stuff, but I didn't know they was getting this not only by they performing on the field, but it was also what their coaches had put in the paper for them, what they were feeding them, the system. And when you get out there and start competing against them, man, these guys just like me. These guys just like me. You had some guys like, hey, they the truth. they the truth. You knew it. You saw it. But then you're like, hey, this guy here that's got all his accolades in this magazine, we can compete against each other.
Well, and then there was a couple guys who like had all those accolades, and you're like, well, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Some of them didn't have the heart to play it, and while we was there, we had maybe one or two guys actually quit during that time, and they was on scholarship, and walked away from the game. But we knew then the game was no longer. It was business. It was no longer the fun. Was leaving out the game. Especially in my position there, being a walk-on. And that's when I said to myself, man, I should have went somewhere they actually wanted me to play. Because you felt like they was actually trying to weed you out, or you was a practice dummy for them.
Right. Yeah, and that's tough since, like you said, you kind of already invested, the time and the resources and things of that nature to get there. It's kind of hard just to blow it all up and hit somewhere else.
Right. It is.
So how was the
coaching staff at ULM? Was it, and I guess I'm trying to relate that as it relates to like the coaching staff at Southwood, but it's a totally different scenario situation there. Like
my defensive back coach at that time, I think, was Richardson. He was a cool, calm guy. He was a Christian. He didn't curse. He would try to teach you, but I did pick up on they really going to invest more of their time into the scholarship players. So you had to actually work on your own and get your stuff. If you wanted to get better, you had to go do it on your own. He changed. He left, I think, in the spring. He left and took another head coaching position somewhere else. And then I got under another guy. And Coach Murphy. Yeah.
So you end up redshirting like that first year. So did your preparation change any? Like coming at the end of that first football season, moving into the spring, like I'm assuming like you said, you got that redshirt year under your belt. You kind of got acclimated to the system, the conditioning, the working out. Like coming into that spring, you're like, okay.
Well, I remember coming into spring, right when it had to be at the end of the fall. That season was, the team wasn't successful, and I remember the head coach pulled everybody in. He, I think the seniors was in there with us, and he just, appreciated them, and then they walked out, and then he went and said that it's gonna be competition now. They gone. We're gonna have competition. And I was psyched up. Now we really gonna play for competition. It's not about who's on scholarship or not. We're gonna actually compete for the job. We competed a little bit in the weight room, the drills, the running in the 40 and stuff like that. But I remember running the 40, and they had us, instead of we wasn't running one-on-one. Well, we weren't running by ourselves. We were running we were going against somebody.
Right.
And I remember going against a scholarship player. He took off, and I wound up beating him. One of the coaches came to me, man, I didn't know you had speed. He gave me my time. My position coach didn't say a word. He went to that scholarship player and went off on him. He didn't say a word to me. So I'm like, are we competing or not? Are we competing or not? So I remember playing. I remember doing the spring game. I think I maybe that week or 2 weeks before the spring game, I had pulled my hamstring, so I was in and out of the practice. And then in that spring game, I played, and I got quite a few reps. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe they are going to give everybody a shot.
Okay. So
after that, like I said, pretty optimistic coming in. So that summer, how's your preparation that summer? Like you said, you're kind of optimistic. So
I went back
2-a-days. How's your summer preparation before you come back for 2-a-days?
I went back home, and I used to take summer classes at. I would do summer school at Southern at home. I would do that. It was cheaper, and it was trying to get me ahead a little bit. So I used to go back and do that, and I used to have to work. I wasn't on scholarship. I had to work. I worked at Brookshire's, and I can't remember. Did you stay down there that summer?
I did.
I don't remember. We actually worked out some together that summer.
Yeah, we did.
We ran a little bit over at Southwood.
Yeah, and I remember that because y'all was running those 110s, and I think you told me about it, that we had to run those 110s under a certain time. Linemen had to do it, the defensive backs had to do that. And I think we did a little running right before going back. But I used to go up there and work out a little bit, but I also was out in the heat every day at Brookshire's, running on some baskets. I had some khaki pants and a polo shirt and some heavy boots running behind baskets. So that was pretty much when I got back. I was in conditioning shape to go run. I remember running the 110s, and I can't remember the time we had to make it under, but I made every single one. And it was some guys who was there that summer running them and couldn't make them. Now I don't know what they was doing, but and that was that next day. That's when everything changed for me.
So
how did it change?
That next day, we got into pads, and I remember Murphy. He was coaching me the same way he was coaching me the freshman year, as the redshirt freshman year, as you ain't finna play. It was another guy who had walked on at that time, coming on that year. I was holding the dummies just like him. It was no respect there.
Right.
My mindset, because going through that year before, that was a struggle. Trying to balance. Hey man, I'm getting up every morning. You're not paying me. You're not buying me meals. And you remember coming in as a freshman, man. You had 10 meals. You had 10 meals. It's 5 days. That's 2 meals a day. Not counting the weekend. Not counting the weekend, bro. If you stay there,
right?
So you have to buy pizza.
And then, like you said, your whole point, like you kind of felt like you spent that first year. Yeah, you probably pay your dues that first year, but coming into that second year, you didn't show me a little respect.
Little something. I'm not asking to be just. Man, look. This is time, effort, and I can do something better. I'm in here. I came to play football, yes, but I also came here to get a degree. Right. I'm not one of these athletes where you're gonna put me on scholarship and you're gonna make me get a general studies degree. No, I'm not gonna do that. You're not. I knew how they used to run that type of system, keeping people eligible. No, you're not finna do that. I have to get my degree at the same time being here. So that day, I think we had a conversation. And I was like, man, I'm done. I can't do it no more. I think I called my parents. We had a long conversation. I called my girlfriend who I was talking to at that time. We had a conversation. I went to sleep, upset, trying to decide, hey, man, you either go or don't go. And I just could not go back to that field. I could not go and see them coaches again. Could not go through it anymore.
So like
kind of had these conversations. So you never had a conversation with your position coach?
Man, my position coach, it wasn't that open dialogue, man, that we had, that he wanted you to come. He had his favorites, and that's all coaches, but there was no dialogue there that, hey, man, come, let's talk. what we trying to do. After I didn't show up, I never heard anything from them. They saying we didn't talk. They didn't skate. They didn't contact me, see where I was. We didn't have no more conversation after that.
So it was just one day. I guess practice was over. Kind of just packed up your stuff and just never came back. Nobody ever asked what happened.
Never asked. I was like, and then I remember and when I did that, my other friend, Courtney, he was going through the same thing, and he was like, the next day he was like, man, I'm out. I can't do this no more. I can't put in this time and effort. And hey, man, if I was at LSU winning some games, maybe I can. But I'm over here, man. We 0-12. 0-12, and I can't remember, was it the year before or then, when they didn't want walk-ons playing on special teams.
Right.
No, they didn't want walk-ons.
Right.
They didn't want, and I'm saying to myself, man, you act like you undefeated. What are you pulling your walk-on? You don't want to play on special teams? What kind of coaching is this?
Yeah.
Obviously that coaching staff was on the way out anyway. So even the head coach, man, he should have been gone long time ago. So
you had a lot of
antiquated and old processes and policies they were implementing, man. So it reflected in the records. So.
Yeah, after that year, and I was done with ULM football team. I wanted to transfer. I really did. I wanted to go to Grambling, but I didn't want to have to start over in school. And I didn't want to live in Grambling dorms. Remember one time we went to visit, we was like, oh man, I can't understand this. And I tried to convince Courtney to come with me, and man, we get an apartment, whatever. He didn't want to leave. And then so we made decisions like, man, we stay here and get our degree. So I wound up staying, but I hated ULM football team. I used to go to the game and just root against them.
I know the feeling.
And I had friends on the team.
Right.
I had friends on the team, man. I remember going to the McNeese game. I think you was at Tech, but you came down.
I came to the
right.
And we sat in that stadium, and we was cheering on McNeese. I said it was playing on the team, but we was cheering on McNeese, man. It took years for me to start supporting that team again. After I had graduated and went away, and now I go back to homecoming and go to a game and actually cheer for them and watch them on TV. But during that time, because maybe it was I saw the faces that were still there on the team. It just reminded me of the stuff. I just still smell going to that football field. I just smell the locker room.
Locker room.
You can have that. So
your whole mindset was tied to that. And like you said earlier, man, you had teammates and friends that you wanted to be successful as well. But the team overall, you be like, man, it's whatever.
And I remember we sat there. He lost that game against McNeese, and he got fired. And that's the school he had came from too, and they beat him. And I remember I was just happy. I'm glad you out of here, man. And then they gave the position to another guy. They gave it to
but you were saying you were looking at you had entertained some thoughts about going to Grambling, so you didn't think about going anywhere else and playing, like where you maybe still had the opportunity to retain some credit.
Well, no, I didn't go. I thought about it. I didn't even go as far as in even contacting the coaches. I even thought about, because I think that time they had started playing on arena football in Monroe. I even thought about doing that, but I'm like, man, I'm not finna get hurt for free. I'm not finna get hurt for free out there, man. Logically, I was like, man, just finish school, and that'll be successful going to college for me. I was play a little flag football here and there. Played with the co-ed team. Played national. We made it to the national championship a couple times with them. But that was about it, man. I just left it alone.
Okay. Did you
have a tough time like letting it go at the end, or?
Not then. I say years later. I'll say to myself, maybe I should have just, because I wanted to coach. Maybe I should have just said, hey, maybe it's not for me to be a player. Maybe should I just be a GA and start coaching, or just do something, start coaching with the team, or maybe should I stuck through it and just kept playing after, because the coaches eventually changed, and from what I hear, the other coaches came in and actually gave people more opportunities to play. Then I go back and thinking like I should have went to Louisiana College. They wanted me out there. They wanted me, but that was their first year starting up the program, and I'm thinking like it's going to be another losing season, starting up a program. I always think about what could have happened if I went somewhere else.
Right. But at Louisiana College, they were actually to play quarterback. Coming down as that.
They wanted me to play quarterback.
Well, I mean, losing or
not, you at least been playing.
Right. Right.
All right, man. How
was that? I guess like
as you
were seeing like your teammates play and them coming back, and obviously most of those guys were on scholarship. Like how was that relationship with them, or how did you kind of toe that line with them being on scholarship and them playing, and then you kind of feel like you get a raw deal?
Well, it was still good because one of them, we're still friends today. We had created a bond, me, him, Bruce, and Courtney. We all had picked the same major. We all was computer information systems. So I still was close in contact with him. And so we used to still talk, play video games, had the same classes. So we all was very close, working with each other, trying to get out of the school. So I cheered for him. I just couldn't cheer for the team. And then I just couldn't cheer for the team. And then I had maybe a few still that I used to watch play, but I just couldn't cheer for the team, man. It was no hard feelings against them. I think I finally told him. I didn't never tell him I couldn't. I was at that time. I never told him I was cheering against the team. I think I told him that maybe once we in Houston now, when we living out here. And I told him like, man, I used to go to the game and just hope y'all lose. So that was pretty bad, man. You can't enjoy football season while you're in school, man, because you just didn't even want to.
And I think you guys spoke to that, man. Like you put so much into it, and then it's not like it was this. And I think that's for the most part anybody that plays. It's not like it's this gradual stop. It's just like boom, it's over.
It's over.
And and it's hard to kind of transition and adapt to that, man. It's almost kind of like some post-traumatic stress, man, that you're kind of dealing with. Because every time you hear a whistle, like I said, every time you go by the stadium, you got a certain smell, certain sounds, and it just triggers all those memories, man.
It used to be hard to watch those games, watching those games, and you like, man, if I was there, or going to go watch a high school game. It used to be hard for a couple of years just sit there and watch those type of games. That you wanted that opportunity again. You wanted that opportunity, and remember, coaches used to tell you all the time, one day you're gonna hang this up, and don't regret it. And then it happened. But you never thought it was gonna happen. That you didn't know. You thought you was gonna plan it out. I'm gonna retire from it. I'll be good. But then it just happened.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like I said, and even thinking about it, like at the end of the day, it was your decision when to stop. Like you never even put that into perspective.
No.
Sometimes you may think you may end up with an injury or something, and you may have to stop. But at the end of the day, you made a conscious decision to stop. And like you said, you never really put it into context. Like, man, that was my last time playing, or that was my last time putting on shoulder pads. That was my last time being with the team. But like you said, as you step away and time goes by, you're like, dang, that was the last time I actually played.
I think about it and say, man, my last senior game at Southwood was my last time playing under the lights. Besides doing like some scrimmages and stuff like that, but that's different than playing game in a game situation. I never thought it was going to end there. I was looking forward to play at least in a college game in some form or fashion. I didn't know what it was going to be. I had got down to the point like I'll play special team. I didn't try to get on the field. I'm just trying to do anything. Just to, if I get on the special, get me on the field, we'll figure something out. Or just give me opportunity. Just compete. Maybe I'm not good enough. I don't know, but just let's go ahead and compete. Give me an opportunity to compete.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. But that opportunity wasn't given. It was. If I can tell any young men, hey, go where they want you.
Right. Well, yeah. That was gonna be my next question. Like, my last question. Other than that advice, what else would you give somebody else? In high school, or maybe just get to college as it relates to like what you've experienced.
Man, get with your counselors. I didn't have problems with the clearinghouse and stuff, but I worked hard. Rob helped me a little bit on telling me about the clearinghouse. I had never heard of it until senior year, but I made sure I had that. But I know a lot of guys didn't have that opportunity, and I was the first generation going to college, so my parents weren't able to tell me these things I was about to do. Stop thinking it's D1. If you want to play football, go play football anywhere. Stop thinking this. Just don't stop getting stuck on D1. If D1, they're gonna come. If they want you, they're gonna come calling you. Your coaches, maybe they'll help you get there. If they don't, but they got systems now, man. You can pay to put your recruiting tape out there. They would pay for you to do that type stuff now. Just be open-minded. Go where they want you. Do not. I encourage. Don't walk on nowhere. Period.
You're a little jaded.
Don't walk on, man. Don't walk on. We was in the grind. We used to talk about it all the time. We used to see it. And I think it might have been just ULM at the time that gave me that bad vibe.
I would say. Well, don't get me wrong. I think it's a lot of schools, but at that time, yes, I would absolutely say
they didn't. If I'm running a program, man, I can understand you have to put that scholarship, but man, these are all young men. Everybody trying to make it successful in some type of way. Let them
I agree. But that's the thing, whether they're on scholarship or not. If you put the best product out there, at the end of the day, they're looking at wins and losses.
Wins and losses. And you put your pride. Oh, I picked him, so he gotta play. But hey, if he's not, if he can't play, hey, that's not helping the team.
Right. But not at all. All right. Well, let me get you out of here, man. Got a couple quick hitters for you.
Okay.
So who is the best player you've ever played against?
Best player I ever played against? I say Arnez. I tried to tackle him once on punt return, and he just bounced off of me. It was the sideline right here, and I tried to just push him out, and he just tight-roped and bounced off of me. And I also, on our team, the best guy I ever played, and I was dumb one day. I tried to run him over. I don't know why I tried to do this. It was Jamal. And my shoulder hurt for days. Like, what is wrong with me? Why? After that, I was like, nope, I'll never go head up. I'm just going to dodge this guy.
You probably waiting on that. Oh, yeah. So as a quarterback, who is your favorite quarterback? Somebody you watch, whether they play now, played later.
Joe Montana, on 49.
Montana. Okay.
That's the best of all time, man. The GOAT.
That's the best of all.
That's a debate, but in my book, he's the greatest.
Okay.
All right. If you could play one wide receiver, like who would it be and why?
NFL, T.O.
Anybody?
T.O. And Jerry was. I was a big Jerry fan going up too, but I'm a big fan of T.O.
Well, I don't think you can
go wrong with either one.
No.
So.
All right.
And as a quarterback, if you could have one throwback, like a pass, you could have one throwback from your career, which throw would it be? Like one throw, whether it was incompletion, interception, whatever. one throwback.
Negative Central.
Take back.
Negative Central. Me and Clay Dowdy. It was my choice to. I made the read is 4th down. Make the read, and I called a slant, and I remember calling a slant, but he didn't get the signal, and he ran another route, and that could have kept us going to win that game, and it was incomplete.
All right.
Last question, man. Who would you like to see next on the podcast?
Man, let's bring in Sid. I mean, he did 4 years. He played. He went all the way through. His experience, I'm sure, is different. It's time to hear your story, man.
I'll get it out there.
It's time to hear your story, man.
And don't get me wrong, even though ours kind of, overlaps, it's still different, man. Just like you said, experiences, conversations with coaches. Especially on the ULM side, man. Yeah, I had some interesting experiences there also. But I'll get mine out there, and I'll look up Sid, man. Hopefully he'll answer.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there, man.
All right,
man. Appreciate the time.
No problem, man.
Thank you for listening to the More Than Sports podcast. Please like, subscribe, and set your notifications so you can be up to date on new content. Also, if you have a story you'd like to share, please reach out to us at mystory@morethansportspodcast.com.